Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 68 of the Dharma Junkie podcast. On this episode, my guest is Danielle Ingenito. Danielle's a spiritual empowerment coach and master healer. She's also an expert in healing after toxic relationships, and she believes that every woman deserves to feel loved not only by others, but by themselves. So she guides women through a journey of self-discovery by healing their childhood, building their confidence, and awakening their self-love. Danielle's a certified psychic, medium, Reiki master, and life coach. And we talk a lot about healing from toxic relationships. We talk about meditation and taking your power back. So without further ado, Danielle Ingenito.
You might catch yourself sliding in and out of a hallucinatory state. Just relax and enjoy it. Just relax and enjoy it.
This is an experiment in mind formation. Information. Forming, controlling, operating your mind and your brain. We're using digital techniques to overload, scramble, confuse, unfocus your mind. The natural state of the brain is chaos. Chaos is beautiful.
I don't have any real structure. I'll ask questions obviously, but mostly I just kind of like having conversations. It seems to be, I just don't like the sterility of the standard interview format. It's just a personal thing. It just bores me to tears. And if I'm bored, then everybody else is going to be bored.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I love conversations.
Right. Yeah. Good. Because we're going to have one.
Okay.
So thanks again, Danielle, for joining me. Well, let me get a little bit, we are going to do it a little weird interview style for a minute. Let me get some background on what you do and how it is you came to do exactly what you do.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually, because I was an accountant before I turned psychic medium energy healer. So, so how I came to doing this and helping specifically women heal from toxic relationships, but also teaching empaths about their energy, is that I was in therapy. My marriage ended about 4 years ago, and I went to therapy for 2 years, and it just was not getting me anywhere. And I had done therapy throughout my lifetime, and it really didn't help where I wanted to be. I was never where I wanted to be. I was always attracting toxic people, having toxic relationships. And when my marriage ended...
Can I stop you for just a second?
Yeah.
Before we go any further, I would like to get a functional definition for the word toxic in the way that you are using it.
Yes, absolutely. I believe that there's two different types of toxic relationships. A toxic relationship can just become toxic in saying that, in the relationship, you feel like you're not good enough. You feel like the person doesn't support you. Things just aren't blending together anymore. You're fighting, you're arguing a lot. That can be toxic. Now, that could be a regular toxic relationship where two people that stay together, even though they're not a good fit, just start to not get along. And there's that type of toxic relationship. The type of toxic relationships that I work with are really about narcissism, narcissistic abuse. So there's physical abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's verbal abuse, sexual abuse. The partner, the narcissist in the relationships tries to control the other person. They gaslight them, which is making them feel like they're the crazy people. So there's a lot more toxicity in the type of toxic relationships that we're probably going to talk about today.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah. So just to continue on that, my friend had recommended an energy healer to me when I was completely devastated, and therapy wasn't working for me. And I was very skeptical about it because I was an accountant, I was CPA, I was always into tarot and stuff like that, but I never knew about Reiki or energy. And I was like, I don't know what that is. I'm not trying it. Mm-hmm. But I got to the point where I was desperate, and I was crying all the time, and I had to support my kids, and it wasn't happening. So I was like, I'm willing to try anything. So I went to an energy healer, and just in one session alone, something had lifted off of me and I felt better. And I was like, wow, I got to learn that. So I went to school and I learned all about energy healing and psychic and intuition and all that. And that's why I'm here today.
Right on. Very cool. What school did you go to exactly?
It's actually called a psychic school. It was in New Jersey, and they taught me energy healing. They taught me how to be psychic, how to be a medium, and all of that. So yes, they are out there, psychic schools.
Right. Apparently, so everybody's somewhat psychic, right? It's just a matter of tuning that in, correct?
Yeah. So I teach about energy, and we're all made of energy. And energy, psychic abilities, because I teach psychic abilities, and psychic abilities is just really about tapping into an energy that we can't see. So, you're made of energy, so I can see you, but I don't really see your energy. I see your physical body, but your body is in an energy field. So we can't really see that energy unless we know how to tap into it. Like if people can see auras, but that's seeing the energy field. But a lot of people can't do that, but we can feel energy and we can connect to energy. And that's all that we're doing when we're psychic. We're just connecting to an energy that you can't really see in physical form.
And what steps exactly do you use to connect with that energy?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, you have to understand how you connect with energy, because everybody's different. Okay. And there's different, they're called clairs, which are just kind of like abilities. They're kind of like exercises and muscles. And so you have to understand how you connect to that energy. So you might connect to it in a seeing way, which means that you could see it outside of your eyes, like in the human eye, but usually it's inside of your mind. So kind of like if I said, picture a red convertible, like all of a sudden you're going to have like a red convertible in your head. Right. That's the same type of thing. So you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it in your body, and you can also know it. And there's a couple other ones, but those are the main ones of how you connect to energy. So knowing how you do it specifically is really, really important. And then understanding when you receive the messages or when you connect, understanding kind of what it's saying. So obviously it goes into a lot more than that, but that's kind of like the steps that it takes in order to connect to your psychic abilities.
Okay. I had a question. So would you say, at least in your experience, when you got into this, do you think that it was the relationship itself that caused the energy issues, or the energy issues that caused the rift in the relationship?
So it was actually my trauma that caused the rifts in the relationship.
Like childhood trauma?
Yeah, it's stuff from the past.
It always is.
Yeah, it always is, right? I do, but it's also the energy as well, because I was involved with a narcissist, so he was very, very heavy and very dark energy. So I would take that on when he came home or anytime or whatever. So I think it was definitely a mix, but I had no idea about energy while I was in the relationship. But looking back, like I explained the difference between a narcissist, a codependent, and an empath.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So a narcissist, I talk about a line of empathy. So if you imagine a line, and on one side you have codependents, and on the other side you have narcissists, and this line is of empathy. Codependents have a lot of empathy for people. And usually it's because they've been through traumatic events. They've been through stuff in their childhood where they didn't really receive the love that they needed as a child in the way that they needed it. And then narcissists, I think the same thing, like they have the same thing happening to them in childhood, although they shut down and kind of push themselves away. So therefore they don't have any empathy for other people. And I believe that we go back and forth on this line. And this is why it's so confusing to people with codependency and narcissism. Am I codependent? Am I narcissist? It's because we can fluctuate in the line of empathy depending on how hurt we are or how much love we have that day. Usually narcissists though kind of stay more towards the I'm not, doesn't have any empathy, but empaths are not even on that line of empathy, because empaths absorb other people's energy, and our energy holds our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So as an empath, if we're taking on somebody else's energy, we're actually feeling their thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So it really doesn't have anything to do with us. It has everything to do with everybody else. And that's why the first thing when I work with my clients is to clear their energy, because we want to work with their energy, not anybody else's energy. So we need to get all of that off of them.
That makes sense. Yeah, I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm pretty hard on that line. I think I fluctuate back and forth between blatant narcissism and blatant codependency. So I hover somewhere in the middle most of the time, I think. But I do tend to swing one way or the other at times, just depending on what's going on in my life and what people's bullshit I'm having to deal with at that exact moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's everybody in this world.
It sucks.
I think it's everybody in this world, like we're human. And that's like one thing that we have to remember is that we are human. So we are going to fluctuate down that line, and not to judge yourself for it. Just kind of be aware of it. And I like to stay in the middle of it, right? I don't want to have too much empathy. I don't want to have no empathy, but I kind of want to stay in the middle of it. Right.
Yeah, I definitely, a rapid cycling codependent narcissist. Oh man. It is what it is, right? I mean, it's something I'm working on. I've got like a boatload of childhood trauma stuff. So like, I'm still trying to process a lot of that and kind of work through some stuff, but,
yeah,
I feel like, a little better every day.
Good.
I feel like that. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that's how it feels. So,
yep.
I think, what is an energy attachment?
Yeah. So an energy attachment, we can have them in different forms, but it's basically when something has attached to your energy field, or something you've absorbed somebody else's energy.
Okay.
This can happen in physical form. So if you're with somebody, you can attach to their energy if you don't know how to clear and protect, or really protect your energy. But you can take it on if you're physically with somebody, but you can also take it on when you're not physically with somebody. So if somebody's just thinking of you, and like maybe you did something to piss somebody off and now they're all mad at you, like you could all of a sudden be like all pissed off and not understand why.
Oh yeah, that just happened to me like last night.
There you go. Exactly. So you have to kind of just be aware. And one of the things that I teach my clients is that when you hear yourself saying, I don't know why I feel this way, it's most likely because it's not your energy that you're feeling. You're probably feeling somebody else's energy. Because remember, energy holds your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So I remember there's times where I've been like emotionally crying my eyes out for days. And I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't even have any reason to be upset. Thought it was my female issues, but it wasn't. It was somebody was thinking of reaching out to me because they were in a complete depression, and it actually attached to me. So, and then there's also, just to bring this up, is there's spirits. So there are people on the other side. That's just energy. Everybody that dies, their energy doesn't just disappear. It just moves into a non-physical form. And those types of spirits can also attach to you. So I've had a lot of people that have passed over that attach to my clients.
Interesting. And what does that present itself as?
Same thing as in physical person. So, I believe that when we pass over, we bring back the vibration that we're sitting in this lifetime to our spirit. So therefore that vibration kind of stays the same. So if that spirit is attaching to you, it's going to be with that vibration that they kind of were here in this world with. So a lot of times people get angry and mad and just not understand what the heck is happening with them. I believe a lot of anxiety comes from energy attachments because they don't understand what's happening. And especially if you feel energy in your body, it's going to represent itself as anxiety, could represent itself as depression, mood swings. It's a lot of our mental health issues, I believe, really come from energy that we just are unaware of.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. There's been many times where I've been like, just out of the blue, I'll just start feeling for lack of a better term, some type of way.
Yeah.
And just be like, God, where did that come from? Like, I was just fine. I'm just sitting here, just hanging out. And all of a sudden, like, I don't have any kind of discursive thoughts or any negative thoughts going on. It's just all of a sudden there's just, that dark, like looming, gloomy energy on top of me. It's so weird, but that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I didn't know that was a thing, but now I do.
So you want to get rid of all your enemies, okay?
Dude, hey, believe me, I'm trying.
Yeah.
One way or another.
Yeah, there you go.
No, just.
I won't tell.
I think we just did.
Oh.
Yeah. So like I said, I was dealing with some of that last night. I found out somebody apparently has some long-standing grudge with me over a misunderstanding in the past. And I was in the mind to want to settle it last night, which was probably not a good idea for me. I ended up just going to bed instead.
Okay.
Which is a good thing because I'm not a violent person, but for some reason I just took on that energy. I took on I took on their energy and was like, oh, now I want to do that thing.
Yeah. Got to be careful. I mean, I've taken on just to, I mean, this is weird what I'm about to say, but I've taken on male energy. So I've been like attracted to women, even though I'm not attracted to women, because I was actually had a male energy on me. So it could really mess up your life. Like that one was a tough one for me. I'm like, what is going on? So it could really, really mess up your life if you're not aware of your energy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how can one like get themselves more in tune to just picking up on those energies and noticing when these events are happening?
Is mostly really just being aware of your emotions and your physical body too, understanding yourself a lot better and getting yourself to a place emotionally that you're kind of stable. And then if you start to fluctuate and you don't understand why you're thinking what you're thinking. So say, for instance, we talk about toxic relationships. And if you haven't thought about your ex in a long time, and then all of a sudden one day you cannot get them off your brain, it's most likely because they're thinking of you rather than you thinking of them. And to understand that is going to help you so much because, I think just clarity is key. So really just understanding, I call it your default energy. So if you wake up in a shitty mood every day, then fine, that's your default energy. All of a sudden, if you're in a really shitty mood and you don't know why, then you have something on you. If you wake up in a positive attitude every day, and then all of a sudden during the day, you're crashing for some reason and you don't understand why, then that's going to tell you that you have somebody else's energy on you. You had mentioned this before when you were talking about, we don't really need to know whose energy it is. We just need to clear it. But that's kind of my key set of knowing what your default energy is, like what's it on like every day, and then noticing if it's fluctuating, and then asking yourself, why is it fluctuating? If, somebody and I had a fight or something, then obviously my energy is going to fluctuate. If nothing happened and then all of a sudden though I feel some kind of way, then that's going to tell me that something's on me.
Very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, fortunately, I don't ever actually think of any of my exes. So they must not be thinking of me either. So we're all doing the right thing. I think that's great. Just go ahead and keep doing what you're doing over there.
Yeah, live your own life.
To this podcast, just keep doing what you're doing.
Sending love, right? Sending love.
Don't reach out.
Don't reach out.
Everything's okay. I promise everything's fine. So how does one go about healing from a toxic relationship?
Whew. Okay.
And is it possible to heal toxicity in a relationship while the relationship is still happening? Or do you need to distance yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two ways on that. So if a client comes to me and they're like, I'm in a toxic relationship, first thing I would say is if there's physical, sexual, not emotional, but physical or sexual abuse, get out. If there's not, I actually advise them to stay in the relationship while they heal, because they're going to need the strength and the knowledge and the awareness to get through the separation, because a lot of narcissists will manipulate the person to stay with them. And that happens all the time. Many women that go through this, or even men, they will take them back time and time and time again. And then usually what will happen is it'll get worse every time. Everything that's happening will get worse every single time you take them back, because now you've taught them that you'll settle for whatever they're giving to you. So they're going to make it worse. So in a regular toxic relationship where it's just two people that just can't see eye to eye, they're not getting along, I do believe that you can change the dynamic of that relationship when you understand yourself better, when you heal yourself, because you're going to get rid of the jealousy and the resentment and the anger and all of that. So when you heal and can see things in a different way, then you can actually heal that relationship. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, it's a little bit different, because that person is never going to see it your way, and they have a false sense of reality. So it's a little bit harder. So in a narcissistic toxic relationship, I mean, you can get yourself to a point where it doesn't bother you anymore and it doesn't affect you on a daily basis. Say, for instance, if you don't have money to leave the relationship. But if you're in that relationship you usually will end up leaving eventually. But I do recommend healing yourself before you try to get out, because they will manipulate you, and you have to be strong enough and have very good, strong boundaries in order to actually leave.
Right. Yeah, that can be tough. I've been probably on both sides of the fence in those relationships. I've probably been the toxic partner and been the one receiving the toxicity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very familiar with both, and it pains me to say that I have been the toxic partner. I'm probably the toxic partner right now. In fact, this probably goes a little back and forth. I'm not going to lie. It probably goes a little back and forth, but we're working on stuff. We're working on
that's very good point to bring up, is because I had to realize, I didn't realize that until a few years into my healing, where I was also the toxic one. Because just because you're codependent and you have a lot of empathy, doesn't mean that you're not toxic. Because I was very needy, I was very jealous. I had all of those things that made the relationship even worse. So even though he was narcissistic, I was codependent, I still was a toxic part of that relationship. So we have to take accountability as well.
Yeah, and that can be hard to do. It can be hard to just admit to yourself, be like, "Oh shit, I'm part of the problem here."
Yeah,
I've had that experience with myself in the past. It's like when you finally are cognizant enough of it to be like, "Oh damn it, like I am." Yeah, it's me, it's for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That means you're healing. Yay!
I hope so. Because I can't. Been like this for 40 years. Well, not like this, but I was way worse in my past.
Yeah.
I think when you're young, and especially I came from a home, my parents divorced before I was even a year old. So like I didn't know how relationships were supposed to work. Like I never saw them actually play out in my life. Like I had no example other than, fucking television. I mean, I'm a latchkey kid, I grew up in the 80s. Like here's the babysitter.
Yep.
So that was me. Coming from the deep South and having a fairly non-regional diction, I get that from television too. So thanks TV. Appreciate that. If anything, I can at least speak like a normal person. Yeah. Because the further you get out of the city that I'm in, it gets dark. Mm-hmm. It gets really dark. It's like deliverance out there.
Yeah. Oh no.
It's okay. They're nice people. They just have a funny accent. So, do you have any kind of like a meditation practice, or do you do anything like that?
My meditation. Go ahead.
Because I was going to say that I think one of the biggest parts of really noticing these aspects of yourself and these energy shifts is like having a good mindfulness meditation practice and just being aware of the body. And, like you were saying, it's noting the feelings that you're feeling and the way that it presents itself in the body. And that has a lot to do with, you're tuning yourself into that, can be done through a lot of mindfulness meditation and just practice over time. So I was curious as to whether you used any of those methods in your own life, or what you recommend to people to become more aware of the feeling, the energy that they're receiving and that they're manifesting into the world, so to speak.
Yeah. So I can't really say that I actually meditate. And really quick, just about meditation. A lot of people don't want to meditate. This was me because my mind was always racing all of the time. And I'm like, I cannot meditate. I cannot stay quiet for a minute. So I'm just going to give you a couple of meditation tricks for a second, if that is you and you're listening to this. First off is that you don't have to clear your mind to meditate. You're human, and we're always going to have thoughts racing in and racing out. The point of meditation, for me anyway, is to focus, is to clear our mind of everything else and kind of just come into focus. So one of the tricks that I use to do that is, first of all, if you're doing a regular meditation, if you notice a thought come in, just notice it and say, okay, thank you, and kind of like let it out. The second thing that I like, because I drive a lot, is music. Instead of trying to clear my mind, I actually focus on the words of the song. So if your mind is racing and you can't get what this person said to you out, or this conversation that you had, it's about focusing somewhere else. A lot of people focus on their breath, like counting in for 4, out for 4. But for me, I love music. So I listen to the words of the song and really kind of try to pay attention to what the message of the song is. To me, meditation is really just about clearing your mind or bringing it into focusing on something else. My meditation really, though, is more about energy healing. And I guess I would do that meditation in the healing. So it's kind of the same thing. I don't know how to explain that. But when I do an energy healing, I'm working with my client's energy, or even if I'm doing it on my own self, I'm working with my energy. Therefore, my mind is already just focusing on the energy. So all the thoughts are not racing in and out. Does that help?
That absolutely helps. And I think that's an excellent description of meditation for someone that doesn't actually meditate very regularly. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent, I think you nailed it, because I meditate a lot, and I'm actually in a meditation facilitator training thing. But I mean, you pretty much nailed it. Like, you're not going to turn your thoughts off. That's not the way meditation works. Anybody out there that thinks that meditation is just this blissed out experience, you're in for a rude awakening, because that is not what it is.
Yeah. And I think it's portrayed as that. And it's actually sad because, a lot of people refuse or resist meditation because they're like, oh, I just can't do it. And I don't think it's really taught that it's really about focusing something else instead of letting all your mind go.
It's really just, for me, it's getting comfortable with those thoughts. It's like saying, okay, come in. I'm going to look at you and go, all right, yeah, there you are. Yeah, there's my brain doing that weird thing again. And then I'm just going to let it pass. And then I'm going to let it in. And it's sitting with it and like learning to be uncomfortable. It's learning to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's really meditation for me. It's not like just zenned out, like, I'm astral projecting into the ether. And no, it's not that. I mean, it has been. I do have those experiences if I sit long enough, but that's not the purpose for me. It's really just to like get acquainted with for lack of a better term, my own bullshit.
Yeah. And that's so important, especially when the pandemic hit. So many people had to stay home in their houses and deal with themselves. Like I was so busy that year in 2020 because nobody knew what to do with themselves, because a lot of people resist exactly what you're saying, is sitting with their thoughts. They don't want to. So they go out and they distract themselves. They fill their calendar because they don't want to sit with those thoughts. But it's crazy. But that's the purpose of it, is if you want to feel better, you have to sit with those thoughts. Doing everything out there is not going to help you. It's about going within. So
absolutely.
Being uncomfortable, that changes your life.
Yeah, for the better. If we're being unclear, you want to do that. You want to be uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we're such an easily distracted society, with social media and just the internet being what it is. You've constantly got your phone and everybody's constantly scrolling. It's just distraction. And because we have that available to us, and we're especially these days, we're so bereft of attention span. Everything's these short little TikTok bursts in 3 minutes or less. And that's people, so like people are constantly just trying to avoid thinking. It's like, just to tune that out. I can't think about that right now. It's like, no, that's probably what you should do. That's probably exactly what you should do.
What did it say? Whatever you resist is what you should do the most.
Oh yeah. Walk into the dark. That's the big thing. Like wherever's the most uncomfortable, go there. That's what you should do. That's how you traverse your bullshit.
Yeah. And if you have listeners that are looking out there and looking at other people and saying, I want to do that, they didn't do that by staying in their comfort zone. Like doing what you do, doing what I do. I have to push myself out of my comfort zone every single day.
Oh, yeah.
In order to be successful.
Absolutely. The trick I've learned for me, and I am by no means would I use the word successful, but I am definitely more successful than I used to be. So that's still a win for me. But my trick is going like right to that line of comfort zone and like comfort and uncomfortability, and then just stepping over it.
Yep.
Just right into the uncomfortable zone.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's go do the uncomfortable thing. And that's become a big part of my life, is just doing those uncomfortable things. It's like one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning is I take a super cold shower.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, that's incredibly uncomfortable first thing in the morning. That sets the tone for the rest of the day, so I can go do all the uncomfortable things. Because if you can subject yourself to an ice cold shower first thing in the morning, you are a masochist, and you're probably going to have a pretty good day from there on out, because nothing's going to suck as much as that.
Oh my gosh. I've been trying to do it. Honestly, I've been trying to do it, but that heat, I'm a heat person. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to kill myself with the coldness. I've done it like once or twice, and I'm like, eh.
I've evolved it too. Like when I first started doing it, I would just take a cold shower, and then that got to be just like like I got used to that. So what I would do, what I've started doing over the past couple of years is I'll just take a normal shower, as hot as I can, stand it, and do my normal hygiene. And then once I'm done doing hygiene, like turn the hot water off and then that's so much more uncomfortable than just a cold shower. It's 10 times more uncomfortable than just a cold shower. Like you can get kind of used to the cold showers, but changing from that heat to cold every morning, like, ugh. Especially when I live in an old house. This place was built probably in the 20s or 30s, and it gets drafty. So it gets very cold.
Not for me.
Yeah, it's not for most people.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead.
I have friends that do ice baths.
Oh,
I'm my gosh.
Me too. I've got several friends that do them, and I've actually been trying to do one myself. I just, even if I only do it one time, I want to experience that.
Yeah. Just
to say that I've done it, like, yeah, I've done it, and now I have an opinion on it, because I don't really like giving anyone an opinion on anything unless I've done it. Yep. It's just, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite or an asshole.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So let's talk about if you're willing, obviously. Tell me a little bit about your journey with your relationship. You said you were in a relationship for 4 years, and let's talk about that and just how that experience for you evolved into where you're at.
Okay. So I was actually married for about 9 years. I think we were together for 11. Got divorced about 4 years ago.
Okay.
So I was very codependent. I can remember but he was very narcissistic. In the very beginning, I remember I was telling him I didn't want to be with him, I was going to hurt him, to leave me alone. But he persisted and kind of broke down my walls and got into that relationship. And we had a good time together. And that was the thing. We always had a good time together. But once the kids came into the picture, it was a completely different story. He kind of turned into a different person in my mind. And that's one of the things I teach my clients is a lot of the times when we get into a relationship in the very beginning, we go to this fantasy world of who we think we see in front of us. And usually it's not the reality of the person. We either think that they're going to change, or we want them to change, or we see them in a different way than they're actually presenting themselves to us. For example, I remember, and I was only in my 20s when this happened, but there was a time when he was playing video games with his nephew, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to be a great dad. He likes to play with his nephew. This is going to be great. In reality, he just liked to play video games. So it was I was seeing what I wanted to see and not what I should have seen. So those are those kind of red flags, but we just don't see them. So anyway, throughout the relationship, things got tougher. And, when we could hang out by ourselves, it was great. But when we had kids and the stress of reality and financial and all that stuff, wasn't so great. So I tried to leave the relationship, tried to separate, but he would always kind of weasel his way back in. This is why I'm talking about having that strength when you're trying to separate. Until one day, I don't go into the details of this, but one day there was just an episode that happened where there was no way that I could go back, and there was no way that I could be in a relationship. If my kids ever found out what happened, would I have any respect for myself? Or they probably wouldn't even have any respect for myself if I had stayed after what happened. So that's when I, asked him to leave and change the locks and everything. And I was completely devastated. He was with somebody within a week. Who knows if he was cheating on me before that? Probably was. He was a correctional officer, and she was a nurse in the jail, so maybe. But yeah, so I was devastated. I had 2 kids. They were 3 and 6 at the time, and I was just not in a really good place to even support them. I had my own accounting business at that time too. I needed to do something. So that's kind of what led me to taking any chance and trying new things in order to feel better and get a grip on my life.
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like you've done that.
Yeah.
Right after that. Easy.
Oh no. I mean, right after that, I got involved with another narcissist, way worse than my ex-husband. So I just went from one to another because that's just what I was used to. And I was just seeking that love. He just kind of threw me away, even though it's what he did, but I let him go. But I still felt like he abandoned me because he had this new girl right away, introducing them to my kids. So I got involved with this other guy. And I mean, to the point where he had been in jail before. He didn't have a car. I was driving an hour to go pick him up and an hour to bring him back and an hour the next day and an hour back again the next day. I was a mess. Oh gosh, no.
sounds like you were dating me.
Oh no.
Where I was at one point. I am a recovering heroin addict.
Okay.
So, at one point, yes, been to jail for sure. Did not have a car, did not have a license for many years. Have fixed a lot of that over the course of the last 2 years with the help of my lovely girlfriend, who probably should not have given me the time of day, much as you probably should not have given that gentleman time of day. Laura, if you're listening, either, I don't know what to say.
Thank you.
I'm doing the best I can, damn it. I'm doing the best I can here. But yeah. No,
well, listen, I'm not judging him for doing that. I felt like I could help him. I'm judging myself for overstepping my own boundaries about how much I had to do in order to have him in my life.
No,
so, I believe, hey, we all have our history. We all have our past. So, I've been arrested before. So definitely,
it happens. It happens. Very easily it happens too.
Yep. Yes.
Very, very easily. You can not even know you're doing anything wrong and get arrested. Like, I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But generally I knew I was doing the wrong shit. When I got arrested, I was like, I'm up to some really shady stuff right now.
Gotcha.
It's all just, it's a symptom of the trauma, I think that substance abuse is a symptom of unhealed trauma, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. The addiction.
And like I said, a lot of stuff I did not, my mom worked a lot. I was practically raised by my grandmother, and because my mom was working a lot and going to school at the same time, and dad really wasn't in the picture at all. He would show up when he thought it, he'd come pick me up sometimes. A lot of the time he'd just be like, yeah, I'm going to be there this weekend, and just never show up. That was my dad. So yeah. A lot of weird abandonment issues and stuff. Yeah. But I know all that now. Like I did for a long time. It just ate me up inside, and I was just an asshole, and I didn't know why I was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And now, like, I've worked through a lot of that stuff, but still, there's there's always something. I don't know if we're ever truly healed, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think, I talk a lot about triggers, and I tell that to my clients in my program, where it's like, you have to have realistic expectations. You're always going to get triggered, but the point of healing is so that they don't come up as often as they come up now, and that you can identify, recognize, and process through them a lot quicker than you do now. Like before I healed, I would hold on to that stuff for months, years, grudges,
that would become my whole story.
Exactly. And now it's like, okay, I hear what you said. I definitely feel triggered. This is what it's triggering. Has nothing to do with you. And then I process and I move on for the day, and I'm in a good mood. It's so much different, but we're always going to have that trauma come up, but it's not going to come up in a way that affects you emotionally and physically. And, it'll allow you to keep moving on with your day and not hold on to it for so long. Right.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent point. And I think that's really, really astute of you to point out, is that, those traumas are not going anywhere. You're not going to get rid of that. But and that's been my experience with it, is that I process things a lot faster now. And I notice when I'm triggered by those things, like like we were talking about the physical response in the body, like I feel that in my body. I'm like, okay, I know that immediately this emotion is coming because of the way I feel within the body,
Yeah.
So I think that's really important to point that out, is like, you're not going to just get rid of all the trauma. Like it's just, you develop coping skills. That's really what it is. It's just a lack of coping skills to deal with these things. And I think that a lot of times that, like I was saying, that manifests itself with substance abuse and behavioral patterns that probably aren't very healthy, just because we're, as kids, we're so easily susceptible to the damage. And now that we're adults, it's like, okay, now go live a normal life. It's like, I can't do that. How am I supposed to do that? Nobody ever taught me how to be normal. And what is normal anyway,
Yeah, there is no normal. Yeah. I want to bring up one point around that, though. What a lot of people don't understand about energy is that energy gets stored with traumatic events. So when we get triggered, not only the thoughts come up, but the energy also comes up. This is why you feel a certain way. So you can't, even though you can't release, even though you can't let go of the trauma, like you can't get rid of it because it's your story, it's always happened, you can release the energy around the trauma. And I think that this is where a lot of people miss this piece of this when they're healing is because a lot of people go to therapy and we're really just working on the mind. But we have to work with the energy too. And that's why my program is so powerful, because we work with the mind, subconscious mind, and we work with the energy, because the mind knows things, but your energy feels them. So if you know that you're worthy of this great relationship, yet when you think about it, you're like, I don't feel like this person would be attracted to me, or I don't feel good enough for that person, it's most likely because there's energy stored around your trauma in your past. So we can release the energy around the trauma.
Right on. Yeah. Good. Good.
Yeah,
There's hope.
It makes such a difference. Like, you have no idea. When I did it, I was like, that's what made me feel better, is that the energy was kind of gone.
Right. Okay. So like what practices do you use, aside from Reiki? Is there anything that anybody can do for themselves to help release these energies?
Yeah, I mean, I am a Reiki master, but I actually am an intuitive energy healer, and I do some stuff called light language as well. But anybody can do energy work. And, you know, some healers are more powerful than others, but you can do it on yourself. It's really just about intention. So say, for instance, you felt something in your body. That's kind of going to be the energy that you're feeling. So instead of focusing on that, you, like you said, like, you process through it and stuff. But what you can also do is to help release the feeling of that is to just imagine energy flowing. Imagine like a cloud or some kind of like space just moving, and just kind of imagining it like leaving your body. And the other thing is, like, anxiety is your energy is going way too fast. And for me, depression is when it's going way too slow. So you can imagine your energy being very, very fast, and you can just imagine it like slowing down. And I usually use a lotus flower as an example of this. If you imagine a lotus flower with its petals open and it's spinning really, really fast, that can represent your energy. And I know this sounds crazy because it's all visualization, but it's all intention as well. And you can slow down that lotus flower in your mind, which then will slow down your energy and make you feel better.
It doesn't sound crazy. It
Okay.
doesn't. I mean, it might sound crazy, but not to anybody that listens to this podcast.
Okay, good.
I get a bunch of weirdos, and I love them.
Okay.
I love all my
Yes.
weirdos out there. Hey, weirdos.
Yes, we need more of you, of us. Really, we're weird too, right?
For sure.
Like,
That's what I'm
when
saying.
I got
Like, I have some very strange topics on my podcast.
when I got into this, I literally went to the doctor and got a CAT scan and made
wow.
sure that I wasn't crazy.
Oh yeah. There's a fine line between awakening and crazy.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I see that one a lot too. And then, but I also see a lot of crazy people being like, "Oh, no, I'm just super spiritual." Like, oh no, you seem like you might actually be crazy.
Yeah,
But I don't judge it. Just
Nope.
don't hurt yourself or others, and you'll
Yeah.
be fine. That's the big rule. So, toxic relationships. I mean, the one thing that I want to like bring up is that it's not just for limited to interpersonal relationships, like romantic relationships. Like, toxic relationships can be, you know, the guy you work with, or your boss, or that cousin you haven't even talked to in 10 years, or yourself even. Like, the longest running toxic relationship I have is definitely the one I have with myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the hardest one to heal.
Yeah.
And I think that until you're able to heal that relationship, you're almost doomed to not be able to heal the other relationships, because, you know, it goes back to that whole thing. How can you love another person until you love yourself? And it's not really possible. And at least in my experience.
Yeah. And and that's absolutely true. You can have toxic relationships with everything you said. And I actually started to have a toxic relationship with my business. So you can have toxic relationships in many, many different areas of your life. I agree with you that it's hard to heal the toxic relationship with yourself, and because that's like a very long going relationship, and I think you have to work on that every single day. But I also do believe that it's hard to heal them with others too, because it takes two to heal that. And if you're willing to heal that relationship with somebody else, but they're not willing to heal that, then there's a problem. And that's why a lot of people in toxic relationships stay. And a lot of my clients have toxic relationships with their parents. That's a big one. And then also with their siblings, or even with their friends. I've had toxic relationships in all of it. So very good to identify that it's not just romantic relationships. You have to really look at every area of your life and every person in your life and really ask yourself, are they helping me bring my life up, or are they bringing my life down? Are they bringing my energy up, or are they bringing my energy down? Are they bringing my emotions up, or are they bringing my emotions down?
Right. And
if that person is most likely all the time bringing it down, you have to, because there's going to be good days, there's going to be bad days. We're going to be on some side of the codependency scale or the narcissist. But overall, are you having more good days, or are you having more bad days? And the part of that really sucks is that you're going to have to let people go. And I think a lot of people don't want to do that healing because they know that they're going to have to let people go, and they're uncomfortable with that, and they feel bad and guilty about that. But ultimately, you come first. And if the person isn't willing to change in order to be a good part of your life rather than a bad part, then that's when you have to make that decision to let them go, or set complete boundaries around it so that they don't affect you, especially like in a work situation where you can't just let them go. Right. You have to get yourself so clear and good that what they do doesn't affect you.
Yeah. And that's a hard place to get to. And that's a hard realization to have to come to, is that, I have to, in situations where you are able to let people go, to actually let them go. Because, loss is a palpable feeling. It's the thing we classically just cling to people and things and ideas, and letting go of those can be difficult, for lack of a better term. Difficult.
Absolutely. I always say you have to have the hard conversations and make the hard decisions if you really want to be happy in life.
Right. Yeah. Yep. That's what I've had to do. And that's what I'm still learning to do. Like I said, this is not something that ever came easily for me. I've been in many relationships that I clung to, just because I didn't want to let it go. I knew it was bad at the time, but it was like, I'm still going to hold on to this and try to, probably at the time I wasn't trying to make it work. I was just blissfully unaware that there was, I knew it was messed up, but I didn't realize that, hey, I'm part of the problem. And, I think in my current relationship, we've got a healthy relationship. It's definitely got its ups and its downs. Mm-hmm. And I'm still part of the problem, but I'm aware of that now, and I am actively trying to do my part to be less of the problem. Mm-hmm. I don't nail it ever 100% of the time. I think, maybe sometimes I'm a strong 85, but I don't think it's ever 100%. But maybe one day, just keep doing the work. And no.
Well, I think you also have to be realistic in a relationship with two people. Like, it's never going to be 100% good. And everybody's always going to have different opinions and different ideas and different things. And as long as you are working on it, I think that that's the biggest part, is that you can identify with, okay, something just happened between us. Like, what's your point? What's my point? How can I see your point? How can they see your point? And if you're working on that together, then I think you're in a good spot.
Right. Yeah, my biggest thing was learning to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I've gotten really good at that. I've gotten really good at being like, hey, you know what? I was in the wrong. That was my bad. And I recognize that. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. But even that gets to a point where, like, I feel like a lot of times, like, I'll note things that I do and like actively try to change that behavior, but still struggle changing the behavior. Mm-hmm. Just because it's so ingrained within me. Like, it's just been the way I've operated for so long that it's like trying to change those toxic behaviors is still a very difficult thing for me at times. Even being aware of it, like even being totally aware of it, it still happens, And I think, but like I said, like we had talked about earlier, I think it cycles more quickly now. And I do catch myself a lot faster. Like if I get into like a real shit mood or something, and I'm like, being completely irrational, which I have a tendency to do sometimes when it comes to certain topics. Yeah. But I catch myself now, and I'm willing, and I have the humility to go, okay, look, I'm an asshole, like I was being a jerk, and I'm sorry.
Good.
No,
that's all that matters.
I hope that's all that matters. I think actually trying to fix the things matters, but I like I said, I am trying to fix a lot of my issues. Fortunately for everybody on the planet, I think was it Ram Dass said, all I can do for you is work on myself, and all you can do for me is work on yourself. So that's what I do, because my energy is going to ripple out, so like if I and putting out shit energy that's going to affect everyone around me, and then that's going to affect everyone around them, and so on and so on and so on. And then I'm affecting the entire universe with my negative energy.
Yeah.
So I do my best to stay positive and try to put out nothing but positive energy. But, you know, as we said, it's not going to be 100% of the time. That's just unrealistic.
Yeah, we're human. Like, I have a hashtag spiritually human, because I think this spiritual thing, it's like have to be love and positivity all the time. And I think it's just BS. You know, we're human. Things are going to happen. We deal with human people that aren't healed and aren't spiritual. And, you know, I think that we just have to go easy on ourselves and allow ourselves to be human and not like judge ourselves or put ourselves down for being that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to remind myself of that a lot too. It's like, you know what? You're still a human being. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to say the wrong thing. You're going to put your foot in your mouth. You're going to make the wrong choices at times. And that's just part of being a human, you know? And I've had to have a lot of self-forgiveness with that and just letting that go and being like, okay, I can accept my mistakes for what they are and learn from them and use them as a stepping stone towards not making the same mistakes in the future. And that's the big, you know, it's just noticing when you do those things. Yeah, for sure. But I think, you know, if everybody would just do the work, we'd have a wonderful planet to live on here, and everyone would get along fantastically. We'd all get along swimmingly.
This is the thing, like when you make those mistakes, it's really not about the person in front of you, it's about yourself. Right. And that's where we all go wrong. We take everything so personally. When somebody's blowing up at us, we think it's like, oh my gosh, it's us. But it's really what they're going through and what's being triggered inside of them. And we take everything personally, which then starts fights and all this stuff. If we could just step back and realize, okay, something's going on with them, and not take it like it has to do with us. Sometimes it does, and we have to figure that out. But at the same time, we don't have to blow up and automatically become defensive about it. We can understand like, hey, okay, Justin, you're having a bad day today. Seems like you're having a bad day. I'm going to kind of just let you be. And like, we'll talk about this tomorrow, and not blow up at each other and make it a bigger thing. Just let people be who they are and deal with what they're dealing with. Yeah,
for sure. Absolutely. Well, it seems like you're doing good work. It seems like you've done a lot of personal self-healing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm
sure
the
best thing ever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great. It's like a whole new lease on life, isn't it? Like once you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm going to start working on these things that now I know are wrong with myself and the energy that I am taking on and the energy that I'm putting out. It's like once you come to that realization, you actually start working on it. Like life it seems to just open up, you know, and it's so strange. It's so strange. Yeah. Like, I guess just because we were so closed off before we started doing that kind of I can't explain it. But I know once I started actually like doing some like deep inner work on myself, like my life has just improved dramatically. I mean, just dramatically. Yeah. And I'd like to think that I am living my best life, or at least attempting to, right? At least doing everything I can to, much more than I used to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What the hell did we used to do? Nothing really. We just kind of lived.
We just existed.
And like, ugh.
Yeah, I can't go back to that.
No, like now it's like nothing bothers me. If something happens, like I process through it and like, okay, maybe a minute or two, and then I'm done. And then it's just like, it is what it is. People leave. That's okay. Right. It's just so different.
Well, yeah, you know, and there's a thing in Buddhism, it's a story called the two darts or the two arrows. It's like, you know, some like a negative thing will happen in your life, some event, you know, say the loss of somebody. It's like, okay, well, that sucks, right? So there you've got one arrow, like, okay, that sucks, that hurts. And then there's all the unnecessary and unneeded suffering that we put ourselves through based around that action. Like that's the second arrow. So it's like the wound that seeks the arrow. It's like, I'm going to suffer over this now, rather than just being like, okay, this happened and I'm going to look at it and go, all right, that happened and that sucks. And just be like, yeah, it sucks. But like all the unnecessary suffering that we add to it, then the stories that we build, the mental proliferations, and just like letting it eat away at us. It's like, look, there's nothing you could do if like it happened. Just let it go.
Yeah.
That's the big thing, is just letting things go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we talked about comfort zones before. And unfortunately, when you've had a lot of childhood trauma, and trauma is just a disturbing experience. It doesn't even have to be big, but we internalize everything as children.
Right.
And if you've had a lot of that, your comfort zone is pain. It is suffering. It is anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what we go to because that's our comfort zone. So if something happens, we immediately go back to how we were as a child. And that's part of the biggest problem. That's that second arrow that you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. The historical wounds, letting those seep in. Yeah, that's the biggest thing too. And that was my problem for the longest time. Like I said, I had a very I had a pretty traumatic childhood. Like I'm a childhood cancer survivor, and blah 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 blah. The list goes on and on and on. And so like pain and suffering, like that was my wheelhouse for the good majority of my life. And I think that's what really drew me to Buddhism is, like the first noble truth in Buddhism is in life there is suffering. And it's like, hey, this guy gets it. Okay. He understands. Like it's the only thing I've found where like, yeah, life kind of sucks sometimes. It's going to be like that. And it's like, oh, okay. All right. So it's not just me. It's not just me. And like knowing that there's so many other people out there that do the practices that I do, that, as far as like Buddhist stuff is concerned, meditation and just staying in the suttas and things like that. But it's like, okay, well, yeah, life kind of sucks sometimes. Okay, cool. Well, here's this whole other group of people who also agree with that. And it's like, all right, well, now I have almost like a family. And we're all like, yeah, guess what? Life's not always going to be great. It's going to suck sometimes. Yeah.
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 I think being understood is so important.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And knowing
you're not alone.
Yeah. Knowing that you're not alone. Knowing that like, okay, everybody feels this way. And that's how I felt when I found out that inner critic voice. Hey, everybody's got that. Like for a while, I was like, I thought it was just me. I thought, I thought I was the only one who was talking shit to himself all day long. And no, it turns out, hey, that's everybody.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, now I can rest a little easier knowing that like they're probably beating themselves up a little bit too. And one thing I've noticed too is like that inner critic voice. That seems, like I said, I can only speak from my experience. But for me, it's like that inner critic voice is always just a little bit worse than the person that was the most critical person in your life. It's like that installed protection mechanism to like protect, like keep your heart from being broken. Because if you can handle the worst self-criticism, then you can handle criticism from anybody on the outside.
Yeah.
So like you beat yourself up to the point where you toughen yourself up to be able to take other people's toxicity and negativity and negative energy. Yeah.
Because if you're bad enough inside, then it doesn't matter what other people say outside. That inner critic is something I call the ego. And that ego is what keeps you away from your psychic abilities. So when you have too much of that talk and that chatter in your brain, it keeps you away from connecting to that energy that we were talking about in the beginning. Yeah.
And it's so important to be able to quiet that down.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to tap into that energy, right?
Yep, absolutely. So if you're not healing for that, heal for that. If you're not healing for yourself, heal to connect.
All right, just heal. Just heal.
Just heal. Just everybody heal.
Just everybody heal all at once. If we could just have one day where it's like, okay, everybody start today and we're just going to heal for the next year. If we could get everybody
Isn't that New Year's Day every day, but nobody does it?
Right. People, I think we need to pick another day besides New Year's because everyone's so quick to get rid of their resolution. Like in like 3 days, they're like, I went to the gym for like 2 days. Like, okay, well, what now?
Yeah.
You gotta keep going. You can't just stop going. Like, I mean, that's great that you set that resolution for yourself, but like, you probably want to stick to it.
Well, this is the thing. This is how I feel about New Year's resolutions. I did a video on this, but I think it's just a time of the year that we choose to do something that we're not ready to do. And in order to create change, you have to be ready to do it. So instead of doing a New Year's resolution, I actually just pick 2 words every year and just focus on those 2 words throughout the whole year. So it's not like every day you have to do something. It's just, okay, this is what I want. Like for me, one of the words this year is consistency. So I'm consistently showing up. I'm consistently, working out. My new year actually started today because I had COVID and I was like, this is the first week of January. I was like, this is not the new year. I'm like, this is not how this new year is going to go. So I'm like, January 10th is my January 1st.
Oh, I've got it right now.
Yeah.
No, like literally, I've got Omicron or whatever right now. I can't taste anything.
No,
I can't taste anything.
No.
Yeah. I've been like sequestered in the house for like the past week. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can't taste shit.
Everybody has it. It's
I feel
crazy
fine.
now.
Like it's like the first couple days, I felt kind of like I didn't get a fever, but I had body aches and chills at night, and I would feel fine during the daytime, but like at night I would feel my body would ache really bad, and I would get chills, and then I've got a little bit of a cough, but not much. It's mostly like upper respiratory stuff, and yeah, and no taste or smell. It's the weirdest thing, but I feel fine. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I lost my taste on the last day that I was kind of sick. I was like, oh, this is weird. Now this is happening.
Right. Yeah. Seems a little late to the party, but okay.
Yeah.
That's how I felt about it. Because I felt like I was like, had the flu really bad. And I was like, well, I still have my sense of taste and smell. I think I'm fine. And I took a test and it said I was negative. But then I lost my taste and smell. And I was like, wait.
Yeah.
What's going on here? Oh.
Yeah. It's weird. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I am feeling better. Hopefully, I can get my taste and smell back, but I don't think, like I said, I don't think I'm probably not contagious at this point. Yeah. But who knows? I'm not risking it. So I'm staying home, but it is what it is. Hey, I think it's just something we're gonna have to live with. I don't think it's going anywhere. When they're hey, we can eradicate it with the back. I don't think that's gonna be a thing. I think it's just always it's gonna be like the cold or flu. It's just it's here to stay, and it's just get used to it. Yep. A little more suffering. Just a little bit.
I'd like the quarantining to go away. That's for sure.
the self-imposed retreats.
Oh my gosh. My kids, my daughter has been quarantined twice now, and I literally have PTSD from it because there's no virtual learning online. So I have to teach her everything while she's home. And I'm like, I have a business to run. So I was like.
They don't have any virtual learning online, huh?
No, they just post the work. And then, so if they miss the lesson, now I have to teach her the lesson so she can do the work. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty much how it is here. My girlfriend has 2 kids, 14 and 12. Okay. And we've had to deal with a lot of that too. A lot of the quarantining and having to, go like teach them stuff that I haven't thought about in 25 years. It's like, okay, well, let me remember how to do this real quick, and then we'll see what we can do. I mean, fortunately, I'm in school right now myself, so it's a lot of it's still kind of fresh, but some of it I don't remember. Stuff.
And I tell my kids, I'm like, you do realize it was like 20 years ago that I learned this. Like they look at me like I'm dumb, and I'm like, I'm not dumb. Like I just don't remember this stuff.
I've had to dump a lot of that other information just to remember to like make your dinner. Like the brain only has a certain amount of capacity, and I have to dump old memories and other stuff in order to make room for new stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like that's what I tell them. It's like, you don't know how to do it. It's like I was in 8th grade 27 years ago. What do you expect? Like, this is a long time ago.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've got all new stuff I've got to learn now. Like I've got a whole master's in psychology worth of stuff to remember. So like I don't have time to remember how to do some of that other stuff.
Yeah,
that was so long ago. I don't remember social studies very well. If I had to name like no, we were not even going to get into it. I would just embarrass myself.
I say thank God for Google. Google is God. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Absolutely. I don't know how I would get by without it. How did we ever survive without the world's knowledge in our pocket?
Oh my gosh. And YouTube is amazing. I'm like, here, watch this video. It'll explain everything.
Oh yeah. You can learn how to do almost anything on YouTube.
Oh my, yeah. I love it.
If you've got an hour of free time, you can learn how to do something on YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I really do love about the internet is just the wealth of information that's available. I just wish that it was used more for that rather than just like we were talking about earlier, just mindless distraction, Yeah. It's like we could use it to really educate ourselves and do a lot of good things, or we can use it to dumb ourselves down and stay distracted and not sit with our thoughts and not heal our bullshit. And it's like you can do one or the other. I recommend one over the other, obviously. Maybe one day. Maybe they'll send out some sort of presidential mandate and everybody will sign up to do it just like the vaccine. I don't know.
I won't hold my breath on that
Everybody go heal. Everybody go heal on the count of 10. Well, thank you so much, Danielle. I really appreciate you sitting and taking the time to do this and having this conversation with me. It's been pretty eye-opening for a lot of things, like the taking on other people's energy. Like I wasn't even sure that that was a thing. I didn't know that was possible. But I mean,
Yeah.
I noticed that it's, I take on other people's energy in person. Like if I'm with them and they're in like a bad, like I immediately, like, I guess I'm just very intuitive in that. Like I can read people, like even when they're like, oh yeah, I'm great. Like, no, I see through that. But I didn't know that it was possible just from the ether, like somebody complete far distance away from you. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know that was even a thing, but apparently it is. So thank you for opening my mind up to that. So that's pretty cool.
Well, thank you. I've appreciated being here and sharing the knowledge that I have learned. So
absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Where can people find you at?
They can find me. My website is danielleingenito.com. They can also find me on TikTok. I am doing those videos over there, Danielle Ingenito. And then also on YouTube, Danielle Ingenito.
Thanks again to Danielle for being on the show. If you would like to get in touch with her, she can be found at danielleingenito.com. She also has a YouTube channel as well as a TikTok channel. Just search Danielle Ingenito. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. As always, this has been Dharma Junkie. I'm Justin. Namaste.